Good morning, Free Enterprise fans, and welcome to our 1 o'clock race. I'm Alicel, and I'm joined here by Antidale. How are you today?
I'm doing really well, and I'm really excited for this race. We have chocosura, who's at 2-0, going against starmanrandom, who's at 1-1. So there's a lot on the line for both runners. Starman looking to avoid the hook group and get into the magma group, which gives him a better opportunity in terms of just raw numbers of being able to get to the table. And Choco is looking just to go straight to the table. The Ravana group is pretty interesting too, because they've already sent one person to magma. So we'll be seeing whether we get a table and a magma, or 3 different table runners. Elsa, what do you think about those objectives that we have there?
Well, really, the first, the first two are pretty much open as soon as you get underground and earth access, whereas that Open the Troya Treasury does require a key item.
Yeah, it's a key item our runners love to see too, and hopefully we'll get to place them earlier at that treasury.
And it looks like we are starting with an edge, which is always a nice start on these flags. He kind of mops up the early game.
Yeah, lets you make some pretty interesting routing choices that you don't normally see. You could immediately say, go to Baron Inn and take out the bosses there. You could go climb more deals right away, because Edge can pretty much take care of all that stuff right on the outset.
But it looks like our runners are about to be off in just a couple minutes. And do you want to kind of mention how we have 4 objectives, but only have to complete 3?
Well, I think you just did all of the mentioning that's required there, but that is one of the new features of 4.1 that came out just a few months ago, where you can have a customizable amount of objectives that you're required to complete in order to win the prize. And in this case, as you said, Alcel, it is we have Forge the Legend Sword of the Adamant as one standard objective, and then we get 3 random ones. And runners only have to choose 3 of the 4, so we'll see one of these left behind. Often it has been Forge, just because it requires 2 terminal key items that don't lead you to anything else, so it's a little bit more unlikely that you're going to complete that one. And especially with this race, I would expect to not see it, because as you said before, we just really we can complete Antlion right out the gate, and then we can also, as soon as we get underground and get some levels, do that King of the Town of the Monsters. And it looks like we are off.
And we have both of our Edwards today, with Edge and with Edward.
Yeah, and it is a royalty party too, with the King and Queen Evelyn sitting there in the wagon spot, handing out a twin harp.
We'll see if our runners go ahead and do that fan favorite fairly early.
I don't know if this is just confirmation bias or not, but I feel like a lot in community races, chocosura is known to kind of dive that twin harp because he knows a lot of people don't like it, and he's usually fast enough to make up some of that time difference. So he gets some pretty significant wins in community races from that. It's a little bit different here in these one-on-ones, though.
Yep, you have to just figure out, do you have to gamble, or do you just need to be faster than your opponent?
Yeah, and both of these runners are pretty fast runners. They're both very good. I don't like facing either of them, because I tend to lose to them.
And we see a Sid on Starman's side, whereas we did see a Lunar Staff pick up here in the Antlion Cave.
Yeah, that's the starting staff that Fuseya gets when you pick him up, and Fuseya is certainly not appearing in this tournament. But that's a good White Mage stat stick for whenever we pick up someone who can cast some hefty White Mage spells.
And it looks like 60% filled hit this cave pretty hard, not getting anything in that nice waterfall.
Yeah, that's always a little bit disappointing, but what's not disappointing is that wonderful raid from Natara. Hello, friends from Natara's stream. Welcome into the start of this race.
And Antidale, why is Starman checking all of these early chests?
Well, we do have the random, or the T Wildish flag turned on, so the Watery Pass was kind of something no one ever went to before we had weighted chests. So we in the 4.0 version, we added T Wildish and T Pro to give different weights to places. And on Wildish, not only are things bumped up from T Pro, but that watery passage area is a very good loot, as you saw a cursed ring and a power robe out of those back four. So that can be some really, really good stuff.
And we see our first instance of vanilla here with the sand ruby from the Antlion Cave.
Yeah, that might lead Choco to just go down and check out the character there. Although since we do have free characters on and we have C relaxed on, we can get edge as you see right away. So there's a little bit less pressure to get the character out of that sand ruby, but it also does complete Choco's first objective.
And Starman picking up a cane to go with his Sid that he picked up in the Watery Pass.
You know, this is something that I've just seen in my own seeds, but I get an early cane and then I don't get any axes or spears and I get a little frustrated. But with an edge, they don't really care about that. They can just take that edge and let him lead their party on for quite a while.
And finding some long blades for sale here in Fabul. Very nice pickup. Increases that damage.
Yeah, those will be the best less blades we can find in a shop for edge until we get underground, where we can also buy ninja swords. But knowing where those long blades are is really nice if we find multiple edges, because those are really good enough, and the price is pretty good too. Ninja blades are better, but they're also way expensive, where long blades are, what, 11,000? So you can afford 4 or 5 of them, and it's not too bad.
And we've got a Kenazo here at Fabul. Definitely a boss that you're happy to see early on versus in a moon spot.
Yeah, that wave doing 4% of the total current HP that Kenazo has definitely is very rude later in the game. But here in this initial spot, especially with how fast Edge is to start, you're not really worried about it. And a reward for defending Fabul from that angry turtle is a pass, which is really nice to see. Why are runners so happy to see that pass, LSL?
Well, rather than it opening up a dance club there in Troya, we decided to make it a little bit easier to get to Zeromus. So it gives you a portal straight to Zeromus's room.
Now, I wonder if Troya gets taxes on Zeromus or not, since like he kind of has an ingress or egress there.
I certainly wouldn't want to send a tax collector up there.
I wouldn't want to be the tax collector has to go there. And I didn't see what Starman saw there in the Watery Pass, but it's definitely not Threemus, so that's a quick reset.
Yep, it was a Bahamut, which is a boss you'd really rather see in a later situation since all it does is count down and then Mega Nuke.
Yeah, the counting's fine, and it gives you plenty of time to get your Star Rails up, or just kind of put Bahamut to sleep before that Mega Nuke comes out. Much nicer boss than, say, Wyvern.
And we have found a Palom up here on Mount Ordeals. A very nice pickup. Kind of opens up some magic offerings.
And I think that's our first Black Mage of the Seed. So one important thing with the group flags is that we do have the Warp Glitch turned on. So you really are looking for a Black Mage so that you can kind of go through Dwarf Castle and make sure that you can get the Luca key or the sealed cave item without actually having to travel all the way through the sealed cave and to get the Luca key at all.
Very true. You never have to do that walk of shame through the sealed cave to pick up the key item.
Speaking of Wyvern,
And Chocosura managing to get that eddy hidden and that Starveil up on edge and takes out this Wyvern with no problems.
yeah, and that does mean that Chocosura, knowing that the only places left that he can find progression still are here at the Baron Inn or at that Twin Harp or a cheeky D-Mist, notice that this doesn't have the logical way underground, since we do not let Wyvern block your access to the underground.
And we've got some orbs here in the back attack spot. Again, not hard, just very annoying. And it looks like Starman is going to give us a hops check to see who the character is up here.
Yeah, overall I like this play just as a D-Mist check. I've seen a couple of D-Mists up here in practices, and hey, there's another edge. That'll be useful.
And we've got some guards up here. Another free boss.
And Choco making good use of that shuriken in the inventory, using that to dart and take out the CPU a little bit faster. Definitely a good heads-up play, since I know I normally sell those, but it's nice to keep them around a little bit in the overworld because they just do a little bit more damage than Edge is capable of directly off of his attacks. With the CPU thrust down into the deep ravine, Chocosura will soon be telling us what was behind that wyvern.
Meanwhile, Starman seems to be heading up towards the Baron Inn.
Well, I kind of like that Moonveil for defeating the king of the summon monster boss, just because that's a really, really punchy spot. So being able to get that barrier status up for the entire fight on one character is going to be very nice.
Absolutely. Having a Moonveil in your back pocket is always a nice find. And Starman finding Golbez hanging out in the Baron Inn. Not a fun boss to see.
Nope, this is a nice slow spot, so we do know like those edges should be able to get Starveils up. Runners are going to run out of Starveils though pretty soon, just for all the amount of the early game Starveil required bosses we've seen. And also, Golbez is another one of those bosses that we don't allow to block logical access to the underground. So even if there is a hook here or a magma key, then we would know that our logical progress is behind that twin heart.
Or as Chad is calling out, a rude D-Mist at Magus Sisters.
I'd say that our wonderful restreamer Demarine wouldn't give our runner something that rude, but that'd be wrong. She totally would.
And getting two very good characters here in Mysidia, a White Mage and a Tella.
Yeah, depending on how Choco feels, especially if and when he goes to Baron Inn, it would be interesting to see who Choco decides to keep and who to get rid of. The party wasn't full yet, so did was able to keep or had to take both of those Tella and Porm, and probably would I think keep them both because Tella is so useful, especially after having completed ordeals already, and Porm is the first white mage we've seen, so it's really nice to have a white mage.
Ellen does find Ether 2s for sale here in Mysidia and picks up a couple.
Meanwhile, Starman has defeated Golbez, made him say his favorite letter, and gets a Darkness Crystal.
That is a very nice pickup. Opens up the possibility of a D-Machine grind, and it's always just nice to know where your Darkness Crystal is if you need to go up to the moon.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's something Choco is going to be a little bit more interested in, maybe, because he does have that Tella online with Week already. I wonder if Starman had faded ordeals because he didn't have a Cecil or a Tella, so no compelling reason to really go up there before Baron in.
Yeah, he may continue to hold it off. Looks like he is going to raise the Lunar Whale, or he may just want to get these two characters and the Elder comes out and doesn't let you get any farther.
Yeah, he also could be checking that shop at the Hummingway shop in the Pillow Fort, where that'd be the runner's first opportunity at a gated item shop, which does allow them to possibly find Bacchus wine or sirens or coffins or hourglass 2s, which are all very, very valuable items to our runners to be able to purchase.
Yes, it's great to see Hourglass 2s back in the shop pool. Probably one of the most useful items in terms of free bosses.
Yeah, and also if we find hourglasses up there, that would enable the doing the hairdryer's chest up in the lunar path. They're very hourglassable, and with this team would be able to take them up pretty fast once it's done, and that's a good infusion of experience and a good chance of a very, very nice item.
And Starman, not wanting two edges, goes ahead and holds onto that Rydia and gets rid of that second edge for that Porum.
Yeah, Starman could be thinking to maybe go a little bit more reflex strats. I think he still has a Sid though, doesn't he?
No, I believe he got rid of that Sid for the Tella.
Okay. Yeah, so that's a pretty balanced party with Kane and Edge. He doesn't have to worry about equipping 4 Hanzo grade weapons, so I can definitely respect that decision. It'd be interesting to see what he does with the Quake kit up here, to see if maybe Starman is thinking about doing an early D machine grind.
And immediately drops that Rydia for that Palom.
Rydia, it was nice seeing you, but you're taking a seat again.
But we see Starman getting that Star Veil off, so not really going to worry too much about this Wyvern.
Nope, a single Star Veil is all you need here, and it makes the fight nice and fast. You do not have to go back and raise your people, which is a little bit obnoxious, but definitely worth it.
And chocosura giving us the Kaipo bed check, only a yang, which with all the other characters we have, really not worth it.
Not really, especially if you don't intend to do a very early D machine, but since we haven't seen any really good Kane weapons, I don't think, and if I'm tempted to D machine, I'm really tempted to pick up that Yang. Since really he only needs levels, and his claws don't add that much to his effectiveness.
And Starman gambling and not raising his party before taking on this fight finds the CPU and also throws that shuriken.
Ooh, and we find life potions, exits, and some vampires here in the pass in what is normally the shop where you buy that pass in vanilla. And Chocosura does pick up a good stack of life potions. You go through a bunch of them, even though we give you a starter kit that has about 10, and also finds a mute knife and a dwarf axe. I'm a little surprised at not buying the mute knife.
And does get punished by that NPC, so goes back for a little more shopping and then has to exit.
Yeah, that lady in Troya really likes to get in the way there and make you find an alternate route, or just go back in and duck into the armor shop again. Maybe she's getting a commission from the armor shop.
And we are seeing a chocobo butt check.
Ooh, and also the rare Choco foot check, but a rune axe and an hourglass too. A pretty nice find. That rune axe will give Kane something to swing if Choco kept a Kane, and that something to swing also includes mage type effectiveness, so that's really nice to have.
And Choco also giving us music before he decides if he wants to do that D-money grind.
Yeah, I think it's a good call to go ahead and do this first, just to make sure that you're not getting a magma key here, because I'd much rather have a magma key and continue making checks than go spend a lot of time doing a D machine grind. Um, but we'll see what happens too with the rest of the seed. Jokosura can definitely be a very aggressive runner and make some really interesting choices based on feeling comfortable with doing certain things that a lot of other runners don't do.
And is going ahead and checking some of the treasure chests here. Hasn't found anything too game-breaking, but some nice minor improvements for his characters.
Yeah, I'm not displeased with that rune ring or the Gaia hat. They're both decent stat boosting. They'll give, I think, +3 to black magic stats and white magic stats each, or maybe the Gaia hat is only +3 to black magic. I know it's something that I throw on my black magic wielders.
Meanwhile, Starman looks to be getting ready for this D-machine grind.
Yep, some slow, careful counting of steps to set up the new way that we have found to, or the community has found to manipulate and figure out what encounter seed you're at, so you're able to just get that D machine grind first time once you're up in the giant. And Dia in chat asking if Starman found life potions. I don't think so, since they were in the Troya shops, I believe, right?
That is true. But we are going to be quiet for just a couple minutes to hear what Edward has to play for us today.
And with taking down that Mylon Z, Chocosura does end the wonderful Wild Arms 1 music that we listened to and claims his reward, which is a hook.
So with that hook, do you go ahead and do your D machine grind, or do you check and see what's blocking your way?
I am more tempted to do a D machine grind and just blast through the seed at this point. This party can handle some rough, annoying things pretty quickly, so it's definitely not a requirement. But if I'm feeling comfortable with my party composition, I'm way more tempted to just say, "Yep, let's get levels. Let's just go do this."
And it looks like Chokosura might be doing a check for a hidden D machine really quick.
Yeah, it's entirely reasonable to just hope a little bit more for Magma Key. And since he also hadn't raised the hovercraft, you might as well check that real fast too.
And Starman seems to have found the correct encounter for his D machine grind. Just got to take down um, these beamers before you can start.
Yep, and there's still a chance. I know I've read the chart wrong a couple times and maybe not taken an extra fight when I should have, that we could see a horseman here. But I'm pretty sure Starman's used the chart multiple times and is very familiar with it.
And after moving his hovercraft, looks like we are going to sell lots of things here in Fabul, and just sell that Rune Axe. It looks like Chokosura is committed to this being his team.
Yeah, that Rune X cell definitely means that he is not looking to exploit any mage weaknesses with the party, and he does know where a mute knife is too, so that Edge can equip it and exploit any mage type weaknesses like Hasura or the Mega Sisters, or Warlocks on the Moon. But looks like I agree. He is going with Reflect strats, especially with I think he had knocked Rydia out during that Mylon Dead fight. And Starman is knocking some of his characters out too to just try and simplify the agility and make sure that nobody does any jumping of turns. Those small children are pretty slow and can really make your turn order be not quite as deterministic as you'd like in this fight. So he's just making this go a little bit smoother by having the kids take a nap for a little bit.
Yep, better to kind of have your turn order set and don't have any surprises.
And also with only 3 characters up, that means Tella's Cure 3 will go a little bit longer in case he wants to use Tella's spells to heal up the party in between D machines as the flame comes out and will knock out 20% of their total HP each time it happens.
And I'm not sure how many he's done at this point. I know our tracker and Venerable saying that you only need 6 to slingshot the twins into the mid-50s.
Yeah, and also we do see Starman throwing some life potions after he kills the D machine. Why is he doing that?
Well, Final Fantasy IV is a perfectly programmed game with no bugs. So the developers intended for you to be able to resurrect enemies. But unfortunately, they have no vitality, so they immediately die after being resurrected. But lucky for you, you get twice the experience.
I like getting credit for very little work. That's why I like commentating.
But we do see chocosura heading down the hook route, not going for that D-machine grind yet.
Yeah, Choco Baby deciding to value getting more checks faster rather than just getting the levels here. It's definitely it's going to be very interesting to see what happens throughout the entirety of the race. And he does run into the Staleman chest with Edge and with those hourglasses he does have. This is not a big deal and can get some nice loot out of this.
And he did bring up his Rydia back to life, which always nice to have more characters to get hit by punches when you're trying to get an hourglass off.
Yeah, I imagine we'll see fewer people take the Staleman chest once we get into the table flags when we don't have such ready access to hourglasses, and this fight becomes a lot scarier.
But
And
only... Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, a firebomb's probably not what he was looking for. Definitely someone set him up the bomb there.
Always very disappointing when you don't find anything of value in a trap chest.
Yeah, it looks like Starman is done with his grind. He has gotten the children back up, has knocked down the Tella, and Kane takes out the Searcher. And a cool 605,000 experience points. That's a lot.
And we do see a very interesting sight on Chokosura's side with, that would be the Kaipo guards in the Rubicante spot.
Yeah, so that's a free fight. Chocosura will be able to get through that one very easily with all the utility of Tella and just the fact that those guards won't hit that hard, and he does have an hourglass too. So he has a lot of ways through that. Also, those Medusa arrows would help out in that fight too, especially with the hourglass. Starman still clicking through all of the level ups. Does get Nuke on Palom, does get White on Porum. They are good to go in the mid 50s. Definitely happy sight to see for Starman. Now, Alcil, do you think you might go to the moon with this and hope for a magma key so you don't have to do the hook route at all? Or are you going to just take this massively powerful team and just clear out the underworld?
Well, at this point, Starman knows that his underground access has to be through that twin harp, but doesn't know that it is a hook at this moment. If I were him and I had that many levels, I would probably gamble the moon. but I'm also not as good as these runners.
I think if one of the known objectives wasn't to defeat the Leviathan spot, Gambling the Moon is a really good call. I think it's a little bit more questionable to do when you know you have an objective that you must complete underground. And it looks like Starman, knowing that the harp is the required path forward, is going to go do that. We'll take care of it very, very quickly. And I think Starman will have enough iron gear equipped and already with the two kids, doesn't have to share a ring with Tella in order to get in order to not have to sit through a little bit of a cutscene as the Dark Elf casts. He'll just immediately get the Perished, which is a little bit of a nice time save that chocosura wasn't able to get.
And on chocosura's side, we seem to be crying and sneaking. What's this all about?
So it was found at some point that the cry ability targets a variable in enemies that was probably supposed to be like a morale component, where they would run away at some point. That component was never finished in the game, but it does also target the same variable for enemies that affects Edge's sneak chances. So one of those weird fun interactions that happens when you randomize things, since Edge and Form were never intended to be in the party at the same time. So this would never happen, possibly in vanilla. But with the, I think it was 4.0 when we got the J tables turned back on, where we can sneak the J drop tables, the Japanese items from the original Final Fantasy IV. We can get Bacchus wines here from the Mad Ogres because they just have crates and crates of wine that they're lugging around.
And having a nice crate of Bacchus wine, very nice. Although with this party, only one person who really would make use of it.
Starman picks up a nice Artemis bow from that chest while Edward makes his way to the harp, and we will allow you to get a little bit of reprise of that Wild Arms 1 theme. Ooh, that Baigon's a little bit rude here. It's going to be very, very punchy.
Yeah, this is definitely not as free as the second fight.
No, definitely a bit of an advantage Starman here, who is through that fight with Mylon Z very, very quickly, and will be heading down the hook route and not taking probably any time on chests, because he doesn't really need it at those levels.
And Dia in chat pointing out that it might not be a bad plan to pop that moon veil.
Yeah, first turn Edge, pop a Moon Veil. Second of Edge's turn, just throw Berserk and just get through this fight is probably the most expedient way to get through. Instead, decides to save it a little bit, gets the illusion off, which will give time for Tella to hopefully blink somebody else.
Unfortunately, that bored AI coming straight for that old man.
Yeah, this is going to be Edge has to save the day. And I don't know if he's got enough juice in the tank to do it, because this is going to hurt a bunch.
And does unfortunately take another wipe.
Yeah, I don't normally like to do any random encounters here because you normally don't need them, but at the levels Choco's at, he might be a little bit sadly doesn't have that second edge. Hopefully he remembers he's got that inventory, that Moonveil in the inventory that Chad has mentioned a couple times, just to get through this a little bit quickly.
And looks like he is gonna go ahead and give the Blink and Bacchus a try again. I didn't see, did he turn down his battle speed?
Don't think so, but moving Edge to the back row is going to help Edge stay around for a little bit longer. And unfortunately, the AI takes out Palom just as he was about to queue up a virus. But moving Edge to the back row also makes him hit a little bit less hard. You see that what had been an 800 swing on that snake arm was only 100 this time with Edge in the back row.
Unfortunately, with moving those kids to the front, nobody's surviving those hits.
Yeah, meanwhile, Starman Random is in Nuke First, Ask Questions Later, is just going to absolutely take out this Baigen very, very quickly.
Yeah, has no desire to go through a battle of attrition with him.
Yeah, and Starman's going to win that battle anyway with all that HP total. Has more total HP than Baigen does here, so is going to be in very, very good order. Edge is still hanging on just a little bit here for Choco. I don't know how much he's actually gotten hits on the body, but that last hit on Edge sends Choco back to the save point one more time.
And that genie problem, mentioning not realizing that the arms stay, what happens is they will actually explode if given too much time after Baigen dies.
Yeah, they might have one more turn of attacks and then queue up the explode. They definitely don't hang around for very long. Meanwhile, Starman with all those levels nukes Baigen, takes out, then quakes away the soldiers, and the officer, seeing the massive power deployed against him, turns tail and runs away. Ooh, and that's an Octomam we see at the top of the tower. That's also going to be a really fast fight for Starman. Nuke and Lit 3 are going to do a whole heck of a lot of damage to there. Palom's not going to be able to chip in on any direct damage, though, because Octomam does absorb Holy Spells cast at her.
But at 42 minutes and 43 seconds, Starman Random is our first runner underground.
Yeah, definitely huge advantage Starman at this point. I think the game, there's still a lot to play, but he's definitely taken a commanding lead, I think, for getting to the underground and having Z levels already. I imagine this is going to be a direct play straight, since he's walking into the Landstone monsters, pick up that free chest, and then go straight to the objective.
And this is always a really good play. If you've got a chance to do your objectives, it's always a good idea.
Choco will get a little bit of a better setup this time. Well, I'm sorry, Choco. I shouldn't have talked about anything there, because he did have a blink on Tella, did have edge with blinks, moved everything to the front row, looked like he's going to get going, but then Baigen just 3 straight hits at edge, knocks him out, and has to kind of start over. As Demarine, our restreamer, points out, Starman did find some sirens that he does not need and does not care about here in the item shop in the Land of Summon Monsters. Gonna do a little bit of armor shopping too, maybe some weapon shopping. Probably wouldn't hate to see like a Charm Rod here. Doesn't buy it though.
Antidale Witch. But we do see chocosura backtracking out of the Tower of Babel.
Yeah, that's a little painful for Choco. Knows he needs some more levels since he seems to want to keep that Star Veil around for possibly a Rude Leviathan spot. Unfortunately, the particular Rude Leviathan boss we have does not care for your Star Veils at all, or Moon Veils at all. We've got Pain Man, who is going to 100% live up to his name, dishing out, I think it was 1100 to 1300 per swing there. So Starman, very, very pleased that he has picked up all those levels and all that HP. Porum is going to help out a lot with a very fast Cure 4. And goodness, Demarine, that's a rude Fame Arch that you rolled for these poor runners.
But Demarine did give them a chance with that Edward, but our runners just threw him away.
That's true. Asuka's best boy could have just absolutely cleaned this up. Choco doing his version of the Baron dance, getting his step counts in, and finds a float I fight. Wasn't counting exactly what step it is, but he's going to do his D-Money grind. But unfortunately, it's about 10 minutes or so behind the time Starman started his, maybe even a little bit more. So that's just a lot of time Choco unfortunately spent. And Painman gets you a replacement Moonveil, had you been able to use one against him anyway.
That's exceedingly rude.
Thanks, I love it. As someone who's not running this race. Thanks to the absolutely absurd amount of HP that Porum or MP that Porum has, he's able to cast a couple of Life 2s and a few more Life Cure 4s, get everyone but that Anchor Tella up and on their feet in order to fight this this somewhat rude Odin at the Asura spot. The punches won't be too bad, but you don't want to get to the point where he actually uses his special attack. That's going to be real bad.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think we've seen a whole lot for our melee fighters, so...
No, I think we've just seen a couple of longswords and a rune axe, but Kane just swinging that spear for 400 points of damage. You go, Kane. I think Starman has betrayed Kane instead of the other way around.
But that Palom doing max damage there, plus throwing out a white with Porum. Those seem to be our damage dealers today.
Yes, the children shall save us this seed. 15,000 between the two kids, actually about 16 overall if I actually add up the math correctly. and a pink tail. So we got a hook, we got that pink tail. Maybe we can get a really good sword for Kane, or a really good weapon for Kane. Maybe we'll get some true Hanzo steel for those Hanzos on Starman's side. Meanwhile, Choco has finished his grind preparation, has done all the required fights, and then goes to the moon. Probably just do a quick shop check, maybe see if there's a character up here that he'd like to pick up instead of someone in his party.
Meanwhile, Starman is heading towards Dwarf Castle.
Yeah, I think Starman is absolutely trying to leverage his levels and get through all of these multi-checks as fast as possible, since he cleared Fame March all in one go very, very quickly. We'll now be looking to get the 2 possible checks here. Hey, there's a Thunderclaw that could have been useful for that Odin.
Does pick one up just in case. I think the only boss left that would have a weakness would be Leviathan.
Well, and also that Octomam at the top of the tower that we know about.
Oh yeah, I forgot that she's vulnerable to lightning.
Yep, she is not fond of it. And let's see what Lunar Sparkle we have here. We've seen D-Lunars and Wyvern already, I believe. And maybe Pale Dim too, I think. So this is going to be not terribly scary. Oh yeah, not scary at all.
And we just see microwaving that eyeball.
And then Edge pokes it with a sword, and Plague is gone. Yeah, so Starman has now completed 2 of the 3 required objectives, is looking either for an Earth Crystal or both parts of the Forge combination in order to complete this. And we've got a blue robe and a Rydia that's not going to join the team.
Oh my.
Hey, it's a gauntlet.
But I don't remember ever seeing these down here in Dwarf Castle. Would you like to explain, Antidale?
Well, we decided to grunge this up a little bit and give you an alternative gauntlet. Just playing all the best hits from the 90s, finding all the random monster encounters from the surrounding areas, and giving you just a lot of things that you forgot existed in this game at all if you've been playing the randomizer and not vanilla. It's a lot of fun to see these 5 different fights that are always drawn from the surrounding area. Each gauntlet spot has its own unique set of the 5, even though they're all from roughly the area. One of the things that's a little bit strange until you think about the levels is that the Odin spot draws from the Fame Arch bosses, or from the same pool as the Fame Arch bosses, rather than stuff from the surrounding barren area.
And it's very nice to give some love to these very rarely seen monsters. And in some spaces, this gauntlet can be very, very rude.
Yeah, it's always awkward when you don't have a nice black mage like Palom here doing a lot of work, being able to make the monsters not actually attack even. And Kane, with that 300 damage from the spear, does get a kill. Good job, Kane. But yeah, LSL, how do you feel about an Ogopogo gauntlet?
I think it's a wonderful thing as long as I'm not fighting it. When's the last time y'all got to see evil masks?
I mean, other than Halloween?
But with some nice spells from that Palom, Starman is very quickly through that gauntlet and will get to pick up his 2 key items.
since Choco had a few more levels on some of his characters, it looks like he's opting to not just knock everybody out, but the three main people for this fight. Um, and that's a defense sword for Starman. That's Kane's best weapon until he's in the level 60s or so. So I don't hate that pickup for Starman there. I'm sure he's pretty happy to have Kane with a good weapon. And a rat tail, so we have our tail collection complete.
And it looks like Chocosura is managing to get some double life glitches off on these dragons.
Yeah, that can be a really good way to conserve your ether supply, maybe, or just to speed up the amount of times you have to run this cycle. I really like it when I have like a medium level Rosa who maybe has Cure 3, so she can help with the curing a little bit, since you do tend to take a couple extra flames, so you have to heal up a little bit more often. But if you have a limited magic supply for your Tella, it's definitely a good way to make this fight go a little bit faster.
And it looks like we are joined by Moonblaze Wolf and his raid. Thank you so much and welcome.
And to kind of give a little bit of a recap of what's gone on so far, while we have Chocosura doing some D-Machines, we were given a harp immediately along with two Edwards, but one of them was actually an edge. And then both runners proceeded to totally ignore that harp for the entirety of the rest of the Earth. And it ended up being the hook. Meanwhile, we had gotten a darkness crystal from Golbez at the Baron Inn, and Starman had taken that as an opportunity to immediately do a D-Machine grind and slingshot up his twins into the mid-50s, while Chocosura had been decided to go and rush the hook route, figuring Edge could handle anything, except that Baigan stood in his way at the King-Queen spot, which absolutely stymied him long enough for Starman to catch up and blow by, while Chocosura had to retreat and is now doing his grind. So one decision was really huge, probably a 20-plus minute swing.
Hey, an Excalibur.
Nice. No Cecils, though. Edge is going to really like tossing it at that, though.
Yep, in a seed like this, it's actually nicer to see the Excalibur than the Crystal Sword.
Yeah, although Starman could sell the Crystal Sword to assert dominance over the seed, but I think that 30-minute D-Machine grind did quite enough assertion.
But we'll see what Sheila 1 is holding today. Womp womp.
Yeah, that was not the prize we were looking for, but did get the tower key from the rat tail, so probably goes straight to the tower?
Yep, I would expect to see Starman probably finishing off all of Earth before heading up to the moon.
Ooh, and Dia in chat with a very spicy thought. Choco has to know he's behind with this, or has to assume anyway he's behind. I always assume that my opponent has always made a better play than I have, especially if I have to retreat out of a fight like Choco was forced to. And suggesting that Choco could think about checking CPU or element spot for Demist, because if Demist has the value, say an Earth Crystal that maybe gates one of the pieces of the Forge, that'd be huge advantage Choco. It's a huge gamble, but at this point, Choco kind of needs to gamble a bit.
But while Starman Random is heading up the Tower of Babel and Chocosura is finishing up his grind, I'd like to give a great shout out to our behind the scenes crew. Demarine on Restream, and Invenerable on Tracking.
Indeed, doing all the hard work in the background to make our job very, very easy.
But I expect we're going to see some fried calamari here.
Yeah, gonna be a little bit rubbery with that time in the microwave, though.
Meanwhile, chocosura still working on his grind. I expect he'll probably be done pretty quick-like.
Yeah, and that is one shiny, shiny space rock that Starman has picked up from the sad corpse of Octoman. So Starman now has two different ways to get go mode. He needs either the Legend Sword or the Earth Crystal.
And probably wants to find them on Earth rather than having to go up to the moon, go back to Earth, and then go to Zeromus.
Yeah, probably does, but does have that pass in the back pocket, so it's not quite so bad. And chocosura is done with that grind. Gets a solid 800,000 experience. Not quite the slingshot on Pelham because he is already too high, but should get most, if not all, the spells there. And I think that's a little bit of vanilla there in the tower room.
Yep, we see some vanilla dark imps.
Palin making them quake in their boots and disappear very, very quickly. And at 800,000, Rydia's going to be awfully close to Nuke since she will get Slingshot out of this fight. I mean, Medio. Nuke was a guarantee, but I think Medio requires her to get 2,000 or get 100,000 out of that fight to double that up to 2 million. Or sorry, 1 million to double up to 2 million.
Yep, looks like it put her right there at 56.
You know, it looks like Palom is one level short at 51. So Choco does need to do a little bit more work to get the kids their final spells. But we'll get it pretty shortly because Palom's got to be really close to level 52.
And Starman Random looks like he is finished with the tower and picks up a power shirt.
I don't hate it, but it's definitely not what he's looking for. That Tower of Power gets him just part of Go mode, but not all the way. Is now knows that progression has to be up on the moon, unless there's a demist in the giant. And of course, now Starman's faced with one of those questions that I never know how to answer and sometimes choose randomly of, do I go top down, do I check value cave, or do I go bottom up? Since he has two different items that can get him go mode, I don't actually know what I actually would want to do here. What do you think you do, Alsol?
I think having two key items that would get me go mode, I would go all the way down to the ribbon room and just do that big mass of key item checks.
Yeah, I think if you feel like you're ahead, that's probably the play I make too, because that's 4 key item checks that are all pretty close together. two in the ribbon room, and then one in the White Spear Altar and one at the Marsame. And we've got a Moon Bard playing us the greatest lunar hits. He's probably going to go get to the bench, though.
Yeah, unfortunately, a little too late and missing a spoon.
Brian the Saint asking if Choco checked CPU. He did not. I don't think he even checked the Elements fight.
But Starman looks to be heading down to the lower lunar subterrane. Probably going to take out all of those key item checks all in a row.
Yep. Meanwhile, chocosura going to get a lot of revenge on this Baigen very, very quickly.
Yep, I think with this Quake, it should be enough to take out this Baigen, and he'll go on and take on his Kaipo guards.
Now, who do you want to have Starman have to fight here in the ribbon room?
We've seen a lot of our really rude bosses already. Maybe Ogopogo? Or that.
Yeah, Val's not a bad option here. Good thing Kane and Edge are there in order to provide all of the muscly punching necessary to get through this spot. I don't remember if this is one that you can nuke through, but I don't think it is.
Nope. All spots on the moon are unnukable. Ah, I am being corrected. Cave Bahamut is nukable.
And chocosura getting a nice kill on the officer is going to get the full XP there, as he is a little bit short of an XP for final levels on all of his kids. So a good heads up play, just that you got a little bit more XP, so you have to do a little bit less grinding or fighting things later, hopefully. Yeah, and Invenerable, our tracker, pointing out that those two Moonveils in the inventory not going used when they'd be pretty great here. You could just have Luigi and Hanzo go to town and not worry about anything.
And if this is required here, chocosura is going to have a little bit more trouble, as he does not have that cane.
Yeah, with just the one melee fighter, it'll take him a little bit longer. He would probably see this and just reset out and hope he doesn't have to do it. I would have been tempted to reset out of this if I were Starman anyway, because this fight's obnoxiously long.
But chocosura has made it underground.
Yeah, unfortunately for him, about 20 minutes behind Starman's time. But we should see a pretty similar progression of rushing the Fade March, doing that Pain Man at Leviathan, killing all the rest of the things here, and then eventually heading up to the moon. We'll see if he makes any choices to fade any checks here, because I'm sure he feels behind. Well, that's a Baron key, which isn't direct progression, but does get you 2 other key item checks that you could bank. I don't think I gamble on that at this point.
No, I'd wait until at least have a pan as well. And elements here at the plague spot, not really the scariest thing.
Nope, and it looks like we're doing some reflect strats. Why is Starman throwing up a wall on Forum there?
Well, the elements have a script where, because you were kind of limited by SNES programming that you couldn't have more than 65 and change health, they will actually switch to another boss. But that only comes if you do direct damage. Whereas if you reflect damage, it never kind of sets that trigger to change to the next boss, and you get you're able to kill the boss with less damage done.
That seems like a really heads-up play for Starman to have made.
But only getting a crystal ring for his troubles.
Yeah, I like having a crystal ring. It's going to help Forum out in the Threemus fight, and here it goes very quickly on that Forum. But definitely not a required item, and not the thing he's looking for most. That Kane getting beefier and beefier. Power shirt, bandana, Zeus gauntlets. He's going to do a lot of work.
And we see Antlion here, who is going to be exceedingly rude.
Yes, but we just dump rude things in a microwave, so it's going to be okay. And then we also hurl the utensil drawer at him, too. And Alex Pandrag asking in chat if a Moonveil stops the counter. It does not. The counter just goes straight through anything that you'd want to do to... it can't reflect. You can't avoid it with a illusion or a barrier status. You just got to take that damage.
And only getting a lunar staff. Really missing the key items up here on the moon.
Yeah, and a good reset. He had thrown that Excalibur, so good way to get that back. Not have to worry about it. You don't need a second lunar staff. Forum's already got one. You only got one Forum. That math is done. And Alex Pendrag in chat also asking if anyone's peeked the package boss. Nope, no runner has even peeked the character. They did not care in the slightest what was in that package. They know it's just a bomb for Mysidia and don't want to go through it.
And we see a bit of an easy boss here with the Magus Sisters. They're going to hit very, very hard, but their magic attack is going to be piddly.
Yep, definitely not a spot that I'm sad to see them here. They don't punch that often, and because this is the moon and because it's a late game spot, the designers of Final Fantasy IV just kind of threw stats at the wall. And since Wyvern doesn't punch you, they just left the punch stat real high, but they put the magic stat down low because Mega Nuke is Mega Nuke and too strong unless you leave the magic spell power down pretty low in the spot. Oh baby, we've got a spicy pal in there who has decided to fire 3 Porum. Poor Porum.
Well, it's better than medioing your whole party.
It's true. That would have been much funnier and much sadder all at the same time. And there's a spoon for the Edward that we so cruelly threw away. And we just reset. We are going to forget that little bit of sibling rivalry ever happened and go up to the Pale Dim spot, I imagine. Dishmu, that's not entirely correct because Dishmu in chat had been saying that D-Mist can have Baron Key, so most can get is one key item. If the Earth Crystal gates the Legend Sword, D-Mist could be progression for both. So we could be on a D-Mist hunt here, we just still don't know. But with the amount of key items that are available to us, we have the Baron Key and its 2 checks, and we still have 2 checks here over the moon. It's unlikely, but it's possible.
Yeah, and as Morpheus points out, it could be gating the pan, which could then gate something else. It would be great. I'd love it.
That would be really great. Great for the Starman here is the dolls here. This is going to be 1 Quake and done, I believe. Meanwhile, chocosura going through that all gauntlet fight looks like it's just going to burn it all down.
And we get to see an awesome Rydia palette on Chocosura's side, one of my favorites.
Well, hey, here's that magma key that we could have avoided the Hogart with. That would have been a real spicy play to come up here with a couple hourglasses you picked up in Evelyn, maybe do the hairdryer's trap chest, get your Palom up to Quake, and do that fight way earlier. Still doesn't get you through that DKC at Leviathan though, so I think overall the play to do your D machine early was the absolutely correct one.
Definitely. But Starman going to show us who's here at Cave Value. And it is a Lunar Sparkle.
Yeah, I think Chad is correct, and this has to be Ogopogo. Ooh, and I like to see Chocosura switch up those elements, flooding those Black Lizzes out of here. Gets through that entire all-combat fight. We'll be picking up their 2 key items here from the Dwarf Castle and the Warp. I guess it's Pale Dim. I must have gotten confused with who was in the first spot of Baron with a different race.
Well, I think we've had, what did we say, 71 races, so they all start to run together after a while.
Yeah, I think it was, this is 71 restreamed races before today. Or no, 71 altogether, including today. We have had a very nice number of them prior to the 2 that we have run today so far.
But going ahead and getting blinks out and just nuking because nuke isn't an element.
Yeah, that non-elemental is really important because Pale Dim does absorb any elemental magic tossed his way. So using nuke is a great idea there. He just gets an arty bow. Hi, Baron Key. You're going to be next.
This has definitely been an exceedingly rude key item seed.
But also, Starman having fully cleared all of the underground and all of the moon, and it's not even 120 into the seed. Holy cow, D machine early.
But Chocosura has done Sheila 1 on his end. And we'll likely go ahead, turn in that rat tail and Sheila 1 and get his grimoire.
Grimoire.
And as Alec Pendrag points out, by finishing Moon, you know that you do not have to go back, which is always nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Heck that place. We're only going to go back to Gil's Aromas, and we're going to do it with the bass. So we've got 3 bosses here, and we've got 2 key item spots, and we know this first one is the King Queen Evelyn. So we've got some ability for Demist here, but how much does the seed absolutely rock to compensate if we have to find Demist?
It could even be demist at Magus Sisters with the Earth Crystal.
That would be really glorious. I'd also love a good Demist at package, especially if it's like a Tela at that package, since neither runner even bothered to check that. Or Demist at CPU would be pretty darn great. Really, I just want it to be Demist somewhere. Rude. Sorry, runners. I'm not sorry.
Well, I think the funniest thing about it being at Magus Sisters is that has been open from the beginning.
Oh, absolutely. Like, that is the, oh crap, is someone going to just snipe me because they checked this and because they didn't want to do a hook route. Chocosura picks up his very fine Excalibur to throw at things, and that's an Ogopogo there, Leviathan. This party's not too sad about this, but it's not the happiest boss.
Well, and I don't know that that Starman had completely cured up his team, so thankfully everyone is still alive.
Yep, and Starman gets a 3rd eat of the Excalibur since he continues to be able to reset out of stuff that did not matter. That's going to be the last one, though, because I don't think you are going to reset out of this no matter what it is. Just because he hasn't completed all of Liberating Baron, so we'll walk up and do the throne. That's just a lot of walking and resetting if you decide to reset out of this.
And only finding a Protect ring.
Again, happy to have good Zeromus gear for my kids, but yeah, not happy to have thrown an Excalibur for a Protect ring.
Where's the key items game?
Yeah, there's 4 still to find, and there's 1 key item that... Oh, please let this be a Luca key. Let this be a Luca key. I want this to be a Luca key so badly.
Well, unless it's Hidden Demist, this has to be something that gives us progression.
Yes, and I want progression to be Luca key because it's Demist at Sealed Cave. That's my new hope and desire for this seed. I'm sorry to be so fickle in what I want, but that would be really glorious.
Well, when these runners are all finished, they'll come for you.
Yeah, that's fine. I accept all challengers on this one because that'd be just amazing. But Starman now in the real fight here against Dr. Ulige, real fight's gonna get a cold and walk away.
Yeah, unfortunately, no dinga poison walk today.
Bye, Yang. You're not joining the team either. Sorry. Choco has climbed Lower Babel and is fighting with Octoman. I didn't see whether Choco had bothered to buy any Thunderclaw. There's definitely not one equipped, so this is just going to be edge swinging. The team getting a little bit cured because I guess Choco had taken some decent damage, and then we'll probably see a couple of nukes come out.
And does decide to take that Dragon Whip off of Rydia, which does lower her black magic stat, I believe.
Oh, and that is go mode for Starman. That's an Earth Crystal. He's going to go open the treasury. I don't think he bothers walking into the treasury, though. Because who cares, really, at this point? And also, Alisil, I now have a great idea for a Dungeons & Dragons movie. It's Dragon Wick, patterned after John Wick. What do you think?
I think it would work. And with that, all 3 objectives are complete, and Starman Random has gotten his crystal.
Yeah, that's going to be a quick exit, a quick save, and then a go into the Z fight. And Alisil, I see a couple of flags coming out. They have, what, I don't know, is that a 2 or a Z? And there's a question mark? What's going on?
Well, Threemus is just a little too hard to mix into the key item pool, as much as I would like Big Bangs at Antlion. So we have to leave him where he is, but we don't want him to miss out on all this randomization. So we like to fab him up and make him pretty. And thanks to our wonderful Scala Kitty, who has put in more than 450 new sprites, Zeromus can dress up however he wants. So, with it being 2:40 in the morning, or in the afternoon, I guess the question is, whose butt are we gonna kick today?
Now, if I remember right, I think you're very fond of Threemus.
Yes, very fond. But what are you looking for today?
Well, I see Natara in chat, and I don't think Natara has still ever seen Ultros Miss. So for them, let's get some Ultros.
And the crystal goes out.
And I see Porum casting a little bit, so I think that's a Berserk probably going out on Kane or Hanzo. And I imagine we'll see Zone toss up a Veil.
We seem to have a bird.
Bird is the word. That is Dynamis, and I know I've from a Kirby game, it looks like.
It looks like that is what chat is confirming.
That is a very colorful bird. So that's some really good sprite work for Scala to deal with the limited palette here that's available to her in this Z fight and get all those nice colors.
And it looks like our first counter nuke went ahead and hit our Hanzo. So hopefully we can get him all cured up.
Yep, and meanwhile, Choco definitely feeling behind, doing the top-down play, hoping to find something of value. Unfortunately, we know the single thing of value here is going to be the Baron key in the Ribbon Room. Palom, having been charmed earlier, is continuing to consider throwing nukes at his sister. A good idea. Fortunately, Porum is very wise and has thrown a Star Veil up, and all those nukes are going to be reflected directly back at Threemus. No counter nuke for you, Z. Sorry, buddy.
Nope, with all those levels, our twins even have enough HP to survive an unnerfed Big Bang. Versus only having 1,400.
Yeah, it's a little scary when you're below 2,000. It's even still a little scary here. Big Bangs can do 2,400 or 2,700 at max, depending on what the spell power used. And the spell power will change during the fight a little bit. But the kids with their very high magic stats and with good magic evades should be pretty safe overall. Cassran in chat asking if Big Bang was nerfed, though. The first one certainly was. All the other ones aren't, though. You have to nerf each one individually, because Zeromus sets spell power. Zeromus will shake, and then wait, and then set spell power, and then cast Big Bang. So in order to nerf, you have to get Zeromus to counter nuke you after setting spell power, but before actually using Big Bang. However, that's Meteo. That's a lot of rocks. This is home free for Starman Random. It's all over except for, well, seeing the end.
And it looks like we're just having a little bit of technical difficulties, but should have it all cleared up here quickly.
Yeah, we get a little pause there. White's in the air for a while. It's reflected. That's a crack, a boom, and a flash. That is Starman Random going to 2-1, winning this race against chocosura and punching their ticket to the Magma route. Also forcing chocosura to go there as well. Magma just got a little bit tougher, y'all.
Yeah, that is going to be quite a bloodbath. But we'll see if we can't get Starman in for an interview. Meanwhile, chocosura, heading down to the lower lunar subterrane, will get his Baron Key as well as some okay gear, but no progression.
Yeah, it's just really unfortunate for chocosura that was such a rude boss there at Baigen at the King Queen spot. And that he just couldn't get through there with the levels and just ceded so much time. But we are now joined by Starman Random. GG Starman, and welcome to Magma.
Thank you.
So, how did you feel about getting that early darkness crystal from Ha Ha Ha?
Real good, because at that point all I really wanted was a Tella. Because after I was going to go straight for the D money.
Well, and that certainly did pay off for you as soon as you got that Tella, allowing you to kind of just fly through that seed.
It was... I expected it to be jettier than it was when two of our objectives were basically freely open.
Yeah, but that Earth Crystal sure gave you a heck of a run around, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Oh my goodness, 29 treasures.
That's a real good number. Oh, my goodness. How did you feel when you saw Baigen there at the King Queen spot?
I just laughed and cast Nuke on him.
That is a real good feeling, isn't it?
No playing around with anything, just nuke him and move on.
Well, and how about that moon?
The Baron Key was nice. Everything else is kind of trash. Moon was not haunted because it had needed progression, but
But that was a lot of moon you went through that you didn't have to.
yeah. And like something in the back of my head, I was just like, you know what, we could just leave and go check out that Baron Key. But what if I go and throw this Excalibur at like 30 different bosses?
It was fun to tie that boomerang to the Excalibur and just keep getting it back.
I have to thank Odin for giving it to me by way of the pink tail.
Well, and those were some pretty rude bosses down in the Fame March. Especially that Pain Man who don't care what gear or levels you really have, you just have to have raw HP.
And I still had to pop out a Cure 4, and I'm pretty sure that Cure 2 I had Kane throw on himself was also necessary.
And so you had a couple of moon veils in the inventory. Did you ever give any thought to using them in some of those weird fights?
I never remember if I have move veils in my inventory or not. I always forget they're there. Like, I remember back in the Open Finals when Evil Wall was giving me some trouble, and I still forgot that my the moon veils were in my inventory.
Yeah, we weren't sure if you had been thinking about, like, Choco had taken a little bit of time to get through the Baigen, and we were wondering if maybe he was thinking about saving them for a rude physical spot at Leviathan, and maybe you had been doing the same, like saving them at some point, even when you're on the moon and had two of them, if you were saving them for a future rude spot.
No, I legitimately forgot about them.
And so now you're in the Magma group. How do you feel about all your opponents there in Magma?
Okay, we'll see what happens.
Well, I for one am glad you're not in the Hook group, because I certainly would not want to have to face you.
And you won't have to face Chocosura either, because he's going to Magma with me.
Yeah, it's definitely a really good race. A lot on the line for both of you. You getting more chances overall with being possibly one of the 6 people to come out of the Hook group, the Magma group, and forcing Chocosura to also go through what should be a really tough route overall. There's a lot of amazing players in that Magma route that I'm certainly glad I don't have to face for a few more weeks.
It was a fun time there, though. Well, thank you for having me.
And thanks for being on and for being restreamed. Alicil, do you have any other questions for Starman tonight?
Nope, just congratulations, GG's, and great race.
Thank you both for commentating. Thank you, Demarine, for restreaming, and thank you, Invenerable, for tracking. And peace out, y'all.
Thank you, and have a great day, Starman.
And that was our winner of today's race, Starman Random. And meanwhile, Chocosura is taking care of the moon here. Got his Baron Key and is going to take out the rest of these boss spots, unfortunately not realizing that it's all going to be useless.
Yeah, we'll see if he gets as much utility out of throwing that Excalibur as Starman did, in terms of just getting through these as fast as possible and resetting out of checks that you don't need.
And does not want that crystal sword, or that crystal ring, and resets out of the elements.
Yeah, and while chocosura is going over some of the same ground that Starman had, and we see a lot of disappointment on chocosura's screen, let's talk a little bit about the next few weeks of the tournament. Also, we've talked about hook and magma groups. What exactly is that?
Well, it is going to be some Swiss rounds where 6 people from Hook and 2 people from Magma will move on to the next phase of the tournament, which is the table rounds. And so week 1, everybody will be kind of in the same 2 groups, and then you will play people based on your number of wins or losses.
Yeah, and I think it's then there's a couple of play-in races where people who are 3-0 in their respective group will play all in one play-in race, and for Magma, the top 3 people in that race will advance to the table. And for Hook, the top runner from that race, the winner effectively of that race, will also advance to the table. And then there's a second play-in race of anyone who did not advance from the first play-in who was there, as well as all of the 2 and 1 runners. And the same proportion of people will go to the table from that race as well. So we'll get 3 more people from Magma in that second play-in race, and 1 more person from the Hook into that race. And then once we've done that, we then have the table itself, where in the first bit of that, there will be everyone is randomly assigned 6 1v1 matches. They'll play those, and then the top 16 of that, and there will end up being 32 total people. So we'll split the field in half again. The top 16 people will get actually drafted into groups, and we'll talk more about that a little bit later once we get there, because that's like a month or so away, because we do also have a week break somewhere in between the actual start of the table and the end of the Hook and Magma groups.
Yep, and just to clarify what I said, it is 6 from Magma and 2 from Hook, not 2 from Magma and 6 from Hook.
I can't tell you how many times I've said that incorrectly also, and typed it even.
But what that means, basically, is we've got a lot more free enterprise coming out for you. Several more weeks, I think, finishing up almost right before Thanksgiving.
Yep, the finals is eventually a best of 5, and that they'll have, I think, about 2 weeks in order to get all 5 of those matches scheduled and played. So, like Alice said, it's a little bit before Thanksgiving. At least in America, we're going to be a little bit past Canada's Thanksgiving. Sorry, Canadians. But you guys just do it a little bit too early. What's this October stuff?
But we see Sandy trying to throw a hook on her sisters, which have left her.
Yes, Edge with that mute knife doing quad 9s to everyone. It's a beautiful sight to see. Those sisters don't get a chance to charm anyone.
And it looks like chocosura is going to hold on to that spoon. May want to throw that in his Zeromus fight.
Yeah, depending on whether or not Choco has kept the Discord open to see that Starman has finished or not. Might just be looking for an easier Z fight, or just an easy out of a different fight. Because that spoon is going to do a lot of damage when thrown.
But while chocosura finishes up on the moon, I do believe we have some more free enterprise coming up in just a little bit. Do you kind of want to talk about that, Annadale?
Yeah, so the RPG Valkyries are having their yearly fundraising marathon for, I believe, Take This. That comes up in October, and there's a submission video being created for a special Paladin percent for Free Enterprise. Paladin percent is one of the vanilla speedrun categories, where you just get Cecil and turn him into a Paladin. But in this case, we've taken for Enterprise and decided that you have to do everything on the way there, and you do have to have Cecil in your party, but then you get all the rest of for Enterprise glory, so you get to determine what route you take to get that Cecil into a Paladin, and you'll get all sorts of different items. It's supposed to be a very fun, quick flag set. I think they're intending each race to be about 25 minutes all total. And we'll be hopefully sending everyone over to there if we are able to finish in time, because they are doing 2 different races, and again, they're about 25 minutes each. And if it does get into the Valks Marathon, then they're doing a little mini tournament there too. It should be a lot of fun, even just these 2 races plus, and then hopefully they do get into the marathon and are able to show it off at that venue as well.
But with that reset, Chocosura has finished up on the moon and is likely going to head back to Earth and take on that barren spot.
Yep, and we'll probably see that same play of going to the Odin spot first and fighting that Ogopogo and then clearing out the trash can, just because overall it's a little bit faster to do Odin. If the item is at Odin, it's faster to do it first, and if it's not at Odin, you're not losing that much time by doing both checks.
But again, I want to shout out our Restream team who has put on this great show for you tonight, or this afternoon, with Demarine handling the Restream and Invenerable doing tracking.
Yeah, absolutely. And also like to give a shout out to our partner Randomania, who lets us have so many races here on their suite of channels, and especially to Captain Uhu at Randomania Network, who had done so much work helping put together all the back end for the overlays that you see. Scala Kitty had done all the designs, and Captain Uhu had made it so that when you click on things in the tracker room, things light up for you. And also just a lot of work in general and programming effort, and we appreciate their partnership so very much.
Absolutely, and these designs look amazing. A great 80s aesthetic.
And Edge teaching his parents how to blitz. This is not FF10, Choco.
And not even wanting to wait for that script to go through, just goes ahead and takes care of them.
Yeah, nice and quick. And it looks like Choco is just going straight through the Barren Throne. So we'll be getting the Earth Crystal very soon. And then soon we'll see another replay of the final boss.
And Edge showing off that great ninja magic, showing he can be a mage just like his friends.
Yeah, Edge's like, you don't have to give Kane MP. I already have it.
And with this party that we have, I'm willing to bet we're probably going to see a little bit of a different type of Zeromus fight. Would you kind of like to explain that, Antidale?
Sure. We should be seeing Tella move back to the middle here. I do like Choco's move to have Edge, who's very fast, be in the middle for these very slow early spots. Definitely lets you get a huge advantage and get none of the enemies there, as you saw, took a turn. But we'll see Tella move back to the middle to put everyone hopefully to relative agility 1, so they'll all move as fast as possible except Tella, who'll move noticeably slower than they do. We'll probably see Edge move up to Tella's spot at the top. Edge will use his first turn to Star Veil, in which case all the children with full magic directly at his face. The important thing, and as Alisa, you had mentioned earlier, to where reflected things don't really trigger any counter scripts, Zeromus's refill HP refill. And again, this is the thing you mentioned earlier, also, of how we just have only so many numbers to go around in an SNES. So Zromus has over 100,000 HP if you count it correctly, or count it through both refills, or through the one refill. But if you skip the refill by just reflecting magic at him, then he never has a chance to do that refill, and so you only have to go through 61,000 HP, which makes the fight noticeably faster, and a little bit safer too, especially with two nuke casters that Choco will have. Going to go through the HP very, very fast. Should only see one big bang. And you saw chocosura move the battle speed to 3. That's really important because you have very, very little time to input commands when you're at battle speed 1 as ATB ticks go by. The Active Time battle system in Free Enterprise and in Final Fantasy IV uses a tick system. So every time a certain amount of time elapses, one tick on in the ATB goes, and then it has a chance to resolve any timers or events, process stuff from a queue. So if you move that to 3, you have a little bit more time in terms of frames going by in the game in order to enter your commands before the next tick goes. Battle speed 1, it's very hard to keep up with it, so you tend to slip a little bit and lose some ATB ticks just to like a menu being drawn or moving down in the menu. But when you're at battle speed 3, you have a little bit more time. You should be able to get all of your commands in nice and crisp and not really lose any time, and will really let you kind of power through this.
And a wonderful explanation there. I think in some ways, the ATB and agility is a black magic. But that was wonderfully explained.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts, and some people in the community like Simbu and Jeebus, and I think Coffee and Chocobos is also someone who really understands it at a pretty deep level, where they actually know exactly what different timers can be going off. I just kind of have a vague notion that there are timers and event loops and things, and so I'm able to play with it a little bit, but there are people who are amazing at it and who can look at your party and tell you exactly what order everyone's going to go in, even when you're not all at relative agility 1. It's kind of a special science for them.
But we see Chocosura has headed into his Zeromus fight. We'll see that crystal go out very quickly, and I expect to see a pretty clean fight.
Yeah, Choco is very experienced at these reflex strats. So again, we should probably see just one big bang, maybe a second shake, but as long as you just power through it, especially with two nuke casters, it's just going to go. You don't have to worry about it too much.
And we see the spells coming out. Everybody's trying to attack Edge, but he wisely has that Star Veil up.
Yeah, it's a really good idea too to have Porum as Charmy there cast the white first, because white has a little bit of a delay, and Zeromus actually you can miss attacks because the normal base Zeromus form does not have or isn't attackable. So once you have to transform it in order to actually attack it. The crystal is the only thing that can hit the base form, and it is actually the first action of Zeromus's script to actually become attackable. So if you go a little bit too fast, you can actually start missing with them if you get those spells off before Zeromus actually has a chance to really act. So by using a spell with a delay like the white spell right away, you're able to make sure that all of your spells land and none of them whiff. That's a really fortunate counter nuke too. Using the Thor Rage to draw a counter, which does, as we talked about earlier, set the Zeromus' spell power down to a lower value than normally would be. And it just reflects off of the wall that Edge has, so Zeromus just nukes himself. Kind of great.
But we see all of these kids doing some great damage to Zeromus.
Yeah, I know there's some people in the community who actually can count all the way through. I usually don't bother entirely, and I definitely wasn't counting through Choco, but I think we saw 2 nukes, each from Palom and Rydia. Oh, so this is going to go by pretty darn fast.
And Choco may be trying to skip the second Big Bang by just pumping out so much damage that we get at least into Meteo phase, if not, well, you wouldn't get into Meteo phase with this. Basically just killing the boss. And with that, I believe chocosura has finished. GG's to him, and we'll get our official time here shortly.
It looks like it's an official race bot time of 1:53:35 for chocosura, who, with going 2-1, does go into the Magnet group, and we'll see if we can get Choco in for an interview. And we are joined by chocosura. GG, Choco. That was a heck of a run for you. Well, we are joined in body by Choco, but we might be having a little bit of technical difficulties. I don't see you lighting up quite yet in Discord.
How about now?
There we are. So, Baigen.
I kind of, after the 4th attempt, I just gave up on that fight. I didn't see a way, with my team's levels as low as they were, I just couldn't see how I was going to get past that without trying to grind. And since I had Darkness and Tell already, I figured I might as well do D-Machines instead of grinding down there and Babel.
Yeah, that's the exact play that Starman had done too, except he never bothered to find Baiken until he had already completed his grind.
I'm always afraid of doing that because, I mean, I know it's Vandal and all, but sometimes you get punished by going right to the moon after the grind and then finding nothing up there. That was my biggest fear. So that's why I came back down to Earth and looked underground instead.
Well, and that moon was pretty haunted except for that Baron key.
Yeah, definitely. I'm curious, did Starman exit from the moon as soon as he got the Baron key, or?
No, he cleared it all as well. But
okay.
The amount of time he saved by doing the D-Machine grind immediately rather than trying as hard as you did to get through that Baigen was pretty much the difference there.
Okay. That makes sense.
We were wondering up here in the booth if you had forgotten about the Moon Veil or if you were planning to save it for a rude punchy spot at the Leviathan.
Yeah, that was my main concern, was that Leviathan spot. That's why I saved it. I honestly forgot about it. Like the second or third try on that Baigen, I honestly forgot about it.
Yeah, it looked like you were kind of close a couple of times, but he was just punching too hard and couldn't get the Berserk off and get a second blink on people very often. That's just a really rude spot for Baigen.
Yeah, I don't think my Porum even had blink at that point either. So I think that was another reason why I struggled so much. Only my Teller had blink, and I only had one illusion.
Well, and I think it also didn't help that it showed such a free boss in that second spot. Versus, like, if you had seen an evil wall or something there, you might have been like, nope, we're going to go grind or something.
Yeah, if I saw evil wall, I was definitely going to grind on the moon, or on the giant, rather. But, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about getting that Baron key and then staying up there because I had Adamant too, so I guess I stayed because I was looking for Legend Sword. Did we see Legend Sword anywhere or no?
I saw it in the spoiler. It was based off the pan, and I don't remember where the pan came from.
Oh,
Pan
Pan.
came from Zot.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, that wouldn't have been a good play because you would have got Earth Crystal before that. So, no reason to do that. Wow.
Yeah, it was definitely a reasonable thought to try, though, because you're only that one short, and going back to Baron feels a little bit bad. Just ended up happened to be the right call this seed.
Yeah. I'm just upset with myself that I tried that bargain so many times when I knew I didn't have the tools to actually kill it at that point. Well, beside the Moon Veil, which I forgot about.
Yeah, it's one of those hard decisions of you don't want to go back out and grind, but I do think it was the right call to just do the full D-money grind too once you were there.
Yeah, definitely. I was actually thinking about doing that, but I decided to try the hook route first. That's always a hard card to make, though.
It's such a hard call, especially when you have sirens available, possibly underground, where you maybe wouldn't have to do that whole grind and set it up, and that takes a bunch of time.
Yeah.
Let's say the hook route, you get a lot of checks right away. It just didn't happen to work out this particular seed.
Nope, unfortunately.
And now you're facing the Magma group. How do you feel about that? If you kind of taken a look at your opponents for the next 3 weeks?
I haven't actually. I have to look that over. But I said to myself, if I win this race, I go to the table, which there's already some scary people at the table. And if I lose, I go down to the Magma route right with Starman, and that's going to be scary too. So pick my poison pretty much.
Yeah, there's it's going to be a fun next 3 weeks for people in Magma and Hook, and anyone sitting at the table is going to just be watching and learning stuff about you guys, and just glad that we don't have to play anybody for a little bit.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping I would advance to the table and not have to worry about the Magma group, but here I am.
Well, it was still very well played. Unfortunately, just rando being rando today and kind of
Yep,
putting stuff in rude places.
indeed.
Oh, Ellie, any other questions for Choco?
Nope, just GG's again. Thank you so much for letting us watch your race, and we really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
And Choco, any other thoughts on the seed overall?
No, not really.